You doing well?
I'm doing well, and I've got the recording on, so everybody, he's going to explain to you a little bit about our slideshow today, and then
Yeah,
introduce
actually,
yourself.
so
Yeah.
folks, you know what's funny is when you're a speaker, things happen and you just roll with it. I'm using a Mac, and for some reason it doesn't work as well with GoToWebinar, so I can't do the formal slideshow, so we'll have to just work through it like this. But that's fine. I know that you're really here for the information more than anything else, so you'll be able to see my slide deck on the left. Just stay with me on the center slide and take lots of notes. You know, Tammy, when you were talking about when you opened up this webinar saying that you can apply what you're going to learn here to many areas of your life, I hear that all the time. I've heard people walk out of my persuasion and influence program, and people will say two things generally. Well, a lot of things, but two things. They'll say, I just felt like I've gone through a therapy session, and I know a lot more about my own self now. And then they'll say, oh my gosh, I know that I came for work and I can use this at work. I can really use this on my kids to get them to do what I want them to do.
And it does work
So,
if you remember to do it. Yeah, it works.
So today we're going to talk about unconscious persuasion and influence. We're going to talk about what I call the #1 way to close more business. And I'm actually going to prove that as we're going through this presentation today. So this presentation, I'm always about giving away great content. Make sure that you have pencil and paper so that you can take notes. And then at the end, I assume we'll open up for a few minutes, and we'll answer any questions that anyone might have. Okay, so let's dig in here. There's a Tylenol commercial. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Jim, I was going to say, I'm going to embarrass one of my attendees here, okay?
Sure.
Are you a football fan, Jim? I mean, you know, we grew up in Texas.
Kind of. I used to be, not so much anymore, but go ahead.
Yeah. But I just want to say welcome to Michael Dodderer is joining us today, and I'm really pleased. He and I had a great conversation yesterday, and if you don't know who Michael is, we're in the Bay, well, actually, he was on the L.A. Black and Silver Raiders team, 1984 Super Bowl champions.
Wow.
And I was so embarrassed because I said I heard the names before, and then I couldn't remember where. He was also, and I think he's still the only person in Stanford University history to have 4 letters while he was at Stanford. He did everything sports-wise, and so he's also an entrepreneur, and we're going to have him on a future webinar. So he's testing you out here, Jim. But I want to welcome Michael, and thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, football, one of my business partners used to be a pro athlete. He used to be a first-round draft choice in the NFL. So I've been around it tons and tons, not so much anymore, but I've been there, all the golf tournaments and everything. It's a good life. Okay, let's get rolling, though. So let's talk about what you're here to talk about today and what you're here to learn, which is persuasion and influence. On this call, I'm going to give you techniques that you can take out right away to start closing more business. I don't want you to take my word for it. Take notes, apply it later today, and you will discover it for yourself. Several years ago, I can't find it anymore, look for it on YouTube, there was a Tylenol commercial. I'm going to run you through the commercial. It's only 19 words. I'm going to tell you what the commercial is, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what is persuasively hidden in the commercial. The commercial comes on around the first week in November. Little boy sitting on a bed, he's sniffling and sneezing. You can see rain pattering down on the windows behind him. You can see the trees swaying in the background. The narrator comes on and says, "Moms, cold and flu season is here. When your little one gets sick, you can depend on children's Tylenol." That's it, 19 words. Moms, cold and flu season is here. When your little one gets sick, you can depend on children's Tylenol. Well, when I ask my live audiences, I'll say, okay, who would, if you heard somebody say the first week in November, cold and flu season is here, who would argue? And if I've got 1,000 people in the audience, I might have one that'll argue, no one else argues. Everyone else says, yeah, I agree. Well, what's happened in that moment? What's happened in that moment is that a suggestion has been planted. Now, I'm going to talk about it in a second. I'm a master hypnotist. Most people do not know what hypnosis is. They do not understand it. I'll cover that in just a moment. But the definition of hypnosis is bypassing the scholastic definition, is bypassing the analytical factor of the mind and establishing selective thinking. Now, what that means in layman terms is when one person says something and another person believes it. So notice the Tylenol commercial. Moms, cold and flu season is here. One person said something, the narrator, and millions of people believe it. So a suggestion has been planted. Now notice the second part of the commercial. They don't say if your little one gets sick. They say when your little one gets sick. It's already presupposed that your little one will get sick, and who can you depend on? Children's Tylenol. So the point is what you're learning on this webinar has been used by Madison Avenue for many years. Some companies use it very effectively. Other companies do not use it very effectively. The most persuasive marketing campaign I have ever seen in my life, and I do not want to get anyone riled up, in particular my host, but the most persuasive marketing campaign I've ever seen in my life was Barack Obama's last election campaign. He masterfully used persuasive and influential techniques that influence people psychologically to get them to vote for him. I can't go into it now because I don't have time, but I wish I could just show you what was in that campaign and how well that it was crafted to pull people in. And the fact that he won the presidency, what I think as soon as the polls were closed 2 hours later, he was declared a landslide victor. All right, so you, me, all of us, now I know it and you're learning on this call, we buy unconsciously. And in just a moment, I will show you how we think that we buy analytically, because people will say, Jim, that's not true. I'm in IT sales, or I work at IBM, or I'm in this kind of sales, and I'm a financial analyst, and I'm a banker, and I'm a lawyer, and it's all very analytical. Well, seemingly that may seem like it's the case, but it's not, as you're going to discover. Back in 2008 at the Max Planck Institute in Leipzig, Germany, this is one of the most prestigious research institutes in the world. They have something like, I believe, 42 Nobel Prize winning scientists doing research at this institute. And what they discovered, and this has been proven at other places, is that people make their decisions below their level of conscious awareness, yet they do not know that they're doing it. What they discovered at the Max Planck Institute is that subjects, when they were put in a test situation, they hooked them up to an MRI, bottom of the screen there you can see a little picture, and they watched the blood flow in the brain. And what they discovered is that they could guess with near 100% accuracy which choice a person would make. Would they make choice A or would they select choice B? Now the thing is this, they could determine the selection and the choice the person was going to make a full at least 7 seconds before the person had even consciously decided which decision they were going to make. So what does that mean? What that means is even though that we think that we analytically make decisions, even though that we think we're logical and rational when we buy, we're not. It's all determined, already predetermined by the brain. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but that's what I want you to really get and take away from this presentation, is that most of your competition, as you're going to see, has been trained to sell features and benefits into the left-hand side of the brain. Most of your competition and yourself until now have been trained to sell to people in the way that they actually do not buy. So let's look at this. Science has demonstrated clearly that there is a right way and a wrong way to sell. And as I just said, if you're selling to the wrong side of the brain, you're selling the wrong way. And then people wonder, well, how come I'm doing all these sales presentations, but I can't close business? How come people are saying yes, but they're not acting? How come people are saying yes, but they're dragging their feet? How come people have asked me for a presentation, and no matter what I do, they say no, 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 yet they're the one that asks for a sales presentation? So the biggest mistakes that people are making, and I don't care what company you work for, what industry you're in. I've taught all the way from Wall Street to Main Street, all the way from IBM to a flooring company here in Dallas, Texas. My highest earning client is an oil man who makes $50 million a year, all the way down to people who make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year. I've trained people that have been in sales 6 months. I've trained people that have been in sales 30 years. And most find, I've had people walk up and say, how come no one's ever taught me what you're teaching me? Well, I'll show you that in just a moment. So the biggest mistakes that people are making is that they're not leading with suggestion, like I talked about with the Tylenol commercial. You must lead your prospects and clients. If you do not lead them, they will actually, if you do not tell people what to think, and that sounds kind of harsh, but it's the reality. If you do not tell your prospect and client what to think, they will make it up on their own. Let's back up here for a second. So telling people what to think. Let's say you're watching a Tylenol commercial. And let's say they don't tell you what to think. Let's say that the narrator just says, hey, you know, in case you get sick this year, you can depend on Tylenol. Is that as effective as saying, Mom's cold and flu season is here, where they are telling you what to think? You must tell people what to think. A big mistake, and we'll cover these things here in the call, is that selling professionals do not eliminate resistance. Once they get resistance, which is psychological, they start, actually what they'll do is they'll push back on the resistance, or they will completely ignore the resistance. I'm going to give you a little takeaway here. I'm going to give you takeaways all through the call, but here's one here, is that acknowledging resistance, that means verbally, acknowledging resistance goes a long way towards eliminating resistance. The biggest mistake that a lot of salespeople make is they act like they don't see the resistance, or they keep offering features and benefits thinking that that'll be enough sugar piled on that the resistance won't matter anymore. But I'll tell you this, if you do not eliminate the resistance, it does not go away. Another big mistake, and this is huge, I'll cover this in a slide in just a moment, is not understanding the difference between surface structure communication and deep structure communication. Tammy, have you ever heard before, they say what percentage of communication is words? Have you heard that before?
I've heard that a lot of times. I've heard.
Do you know what percentage they say is words?
I don't remember, but it's not very high, is it?
No, it's not very high. It's what they say is that 7% of communication is words, 93% is nonverbal. So what most people do, and I say 99.9%, is they get caught on the words, and they think that that's the communication. What you want to do is you want to look below the words, because the words had to come out of their brain. So you want to know how they're thinking. Look at how they're putting their words together. I'll show you that in just a moment. Something else that most salespeople have never discovered, never even thought about till now, until they start learning what I'm sharing with you here, there's a buy button. Pardon me, I'm kind of stopped up too. There's a buy button in the brain. And what you've got to do, and this is what I teach people how to do, is to find that unconscious buy button, to start pressing it to get people to say yes. So as I said, science has clearly demonstrated there's a right way and there's a wrong way to close more business. The right way is the brain-based way, the way that I call neuro-persuasion, which is brain persuasion, which is quite literally the #1 way to increase your sales. The wrong way is to sell features and benefits and analytics and reasons and rationality, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now, you told them I would tell them a little bit about myself. I'm Jim Fortin, author, speaker, trainer. I've been speaking for many years. I've shared the speaking roster of Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, George Foreman, the list goes on. I'm an NLP master practitioner, and I'm a master hypnotist. Now, the reason that I tell you I'm a master hypnotist, those of you on the call, let me ask you, have any of you ever heard of anyone using hypnosis to stop smoking or lose weight? I know you have, Tammy, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
even have some friends that have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's becoming more and more popular. I've been a master hypnotist for 15 years, and I find that people are divided in two camps. One, they love it, or two, they have an opinion about it but know absolutely nothing about it. What people do not know is that hypnosis is endorsed by the American Medical, the British Medical, the American Dental, the American Psychological, and the American Psychiatric associations. Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Columbia, the Mayo Clinic, the major research universities in the world all endorse hypnosis. So what is it? Okay, and then why is it relevant to what we're talking about today? Well, remember the Tylenol commercial, Mom's cold and flu season is here. I said the layman's definition of hypnosis is when one person says something and another person believes it. Let me ask you folks on the call, how much more effective would you be if you said something credible and ethical? You just said something to your prospecting client, and they believed it. How much more business would you close? What if you could plant suggestions to get people to think things ethically that you want them to think? Well, that's what I'm going to show you how to do on this call at the end of the call, and that's why it's important that we talk about hypnosis. So the reason that I mentioned hypnosis, because we're going to talk about hypnosis in a bit, I'm going to show you some hypnosis and how to use it, some language patterns. I had a client years ago, this is 12, 13, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. He was a vice president of Goldman Sachs, and he came in to become a non-smoker. He stopped right away, and he said to me, he said, Jim, he came back and he said, I just listened to you. I stopped smoking in one session. What did you do? And I said, well, Rob, we use language patterns. Language patterns are what we heard up in the Tylenol commercial. I said, as a hypnotist, we use language patterns, and I plant suggestions for what you've told me that you want. And he said, he thought for a second, and he said, can you teach me some language patterns so that I can use these to become more effective, more persuasive, more influential with my clients? And that's when a little light bulb went off, and I said, sure, why not? Why can't I take the same tools that I use as a hypnotist and teach a layperson how to use them? And that's where my program actually was born, and that was, I think, 13, 14, I don't know, 1998, 14 years ago. That's where I came up with the idea to start putting all this together. So literally what I do when we say brain-based selling and neuropersuasion is I teach people, as you'll see here in just a moment, how to persuade and influence people unconsciously, which goes hand in hand with what the Max Planck Research Institute has said, is that people buy, we make our decisions completely unconsciously. All right, folks, even though I said words are 7% of of communication, your sale will come down to the words and the phrases that you use. As a matter of fact, every sale will come down to the words and phrases that you use. Now, most people have never really consciously thought about it and gotten it until now, but your words are presence and power or not. And Socrates said many years ago, you can cast a spell with the power of your words. Now, when I'm speaking to a live audience, Tammy, I will say, who are the most influential speakers in the past 100 years? And they will say, toss out a few, Tammy, because I know that you'll get the same ones as everyone else. Who are some of the
Abraham
most
Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln.
No, that's not 100 years ago.
That's 150. I'm sorry, I'm a history major. How embarrassing. The last 100 years, Martin Luther King. You know, he was an awesome speaker. John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
John F. Kennedy. Even Ronald Reagan was I thought he was a great speaker. You know.
Actually, I'll segue and come back to my thought here. Folks listening, Ronald Reagan, actually I talk about when I teach in my other program, is that I talk about the power of words and the inflection of words and how you can use words to move people very, very easily. And even the words that you choose can guarantee your success, or they can flip you upside down. Now, what I just said there, I just made up. But Ronald Reagan was he had great speech writers, and I actually talk about in one of my videos on the Mind Authority Network how the power of words, like Socrates said here. I was listening to an old Ronald Reagan speech recently, and he said the average American, which most of us think we're average Americans, right? So he's talking to me. The brain's saying, okay, he's talking to me. The average American is afraid of the terror of not knowing what's going to happen next. Notice with his words how he plants the word terror and uncertainty to drive people to believe his point of view. Words are powerful. So people say, I always hear the same. I always hear MLK, JFK, Hitler, Gandhi, Churchill, and one other one I forgot right now to come back to in just a moment. I do hear Oprah every so often. Actually, she's popular because of the media. And in 2004, I was watching the Democratic National Convention. I watched 5 minutes of it. That's all I watched. I turned it on. I saw Obama speaking. And I said to myself, I don't know when, but that man will be president one of these days, because he was casting a spell over people with the power of his words. And you folks here on this call, this is what I'm going to teach you to do, is how to cast a spell over your prospects and clients ethically. Now, when I say ethically, people have said, Jim, you teach other people how to persuade and influence unconsciously, right? I said, yes. And they started grinning, and they said, I don't mean to judge you, but how ethical is that? Well, this is what I tell people. There are no unethical techniques, only unethical users. I am financially very comfortable, yet I once had someone say to me, they said, I know that you're honest. And I said, how do you know that? And they said, because if you weren't, you would be a billionaire. So because I know how to use these skills, and you guys are going to learn how to use these skills. This is what I want you to get from this particular slide. This is pivotal, yet most people miss it, and most people have never even thought about it. The only thing you will ever be paid for is your ability to persuade and influence other people. Now, I know that we have an NFL player here, former NFL player, and he got paid for his sports skills or his ability, his athletic ability. But look at it this way. Look at people, for example, and I can't mention a name, somebody that I know personally that's a Heisman Trophy winner. He never gets any endorsements. The reason he can't get any endorsements is because he's not articulate. He's not persuasive and influential with his words. So this is the only time that I think about it that I've got an athlete on the call where this doesn't apply 100%, but everyone else on this call, if you sell for a living and you're in marketing, you're in advertising, this applies. So let me ask you, folks on the call, I know that you can't talk, I know that you can't dialogue back, but let me ask you, and if I had 10,000 people in the room, and I said, and they're all salespeople, when I say, what is persuasion, this is what I can hear. A pin drop. So let me ask you, what's persuasion? Because mind you, the only thing you're ever going to get paid for is your ability to persuade and influence other people. What's persuasion?
Oh, I know. I'm raising my hand.
Okay. What is it?
It's when I can get my daughter to eat a vegetable because she's like the anti-vegetarian. So that's persuasion, I think. That's a success for me.
Okay.
It's
well,
not
it is.
really, I think it's actually getting people to do what they really want to do inside. You're not making them do something that they don't truly want to do. You're just guiding them, maybe.
Okay, listen here. So she said it's getting her daughter to eat vegetables. The definition of persuasion, she is correct. It's not getting people to eat vegetables, but the definition is this. Leading people, okay, using tactics, strategies, and techniques, which I teach these, using tactics, strategies, and techniques to lead people to a belief or to an action, which is exactly what you're doing. You're leading her to a belief about the food, and you're leading her to an action. Okay, so what is, and these people that we talked about earlier, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Ronald Reagan, Churchill, they all had influence over others. What is influence, ladies and gentlemen? Now remember, the only thing you're ever going to get paid for is your ability to persuade and influence people. What is influence?
Influence is bringing people into your circle, maybe, your inner circle.
Okay, well, I didn't know if you wanted to answer or not. Influence is this. Seemingly having power over others with zero effort. Look at it this way. Ronald Reagan spoke. He had power over others with zero effort. Martin Luther King spoke. He didn't say, guys, sit down, hurry up, pay attention, listen to me. No. He spoke, and he had influence over others with zero effort. And that's why I call my selling program zero effort selling. When you have influence over people, it's very easy, as you're going to find, to get them to follow you. Now, here's something else that a lot of people miss. Let me ask you folks on the call. Tammy, you're actually excused from answering this, but I want to ask, the people on the call, how many of you have put a marketing piece out and you didn't get a big response back to it? You spent some money, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a marketing piece, and it didn't turn anything up for you. How about this? How many of you have been to a sales presentation, you've got competition, and you know what? You lost the business. How many of you has that happened to? Well, the reason that's happened is very simple. The reason the second one happened is that you lost to the competition because your competition was more persuasive and more influential than you were. The reason your ads, your marketing, your advertising didn't pull something in is because your marketing and your advertising wasn't very persuasive and influential. This is what I want you to get. Persuasion and influence are the foundation. They are the bedrock of all sales, all marketing, and all advertising. And your sales, your marketing, and your advertising, I don't care how much money you spend doing it, is only going to be as effective as it is persuasive and influential. That's why people spend a ton on marketing, and it doesn't bring in an ROI or a good ROI because it's not very persuasive and influential. So I think you folks now get it. The only thing you're going to get paid for is your ability to really become more persuasive and more influential. And in this economy, people think it's good. I know Tammy follows economy and politics. People think it's good. It ain't, and we use ain't in Texas, it ain't anywhere close to good. We're still in the worst economy we've had. Even though people think that it's getting better, it's still bad. And I'm not saying that you should run around saying, oh, the economy's bad. Personally, I don't care how bad the economy is. What I care is where I'm positioned in the economy. And where I am positioned is I have positioned myself stronger than my competition by becoming more persuasive and more influential. And that's where you want to be if you want to sell more. Okay.
Hey Jim,
we talked about.
I was
Go
just,
ahead,
I had
please.
a real quick question. Is it
Sure.
possible that you're going along on and you're saying marketing piece or whatever, say you're going along and you're doing things and you're getting good results and you think that you're in a good position of influence, and then suddenly
You
you
there?
lose it? Hello? Are you
Yeah,
there?
I hear you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay,
I
so
lost you.
can you lose your influence? I guess is what I'm asking. Can you be going along, doing everything swimmingly, and then all of a sudden you find that you've lost your influence? Is that possible?
Well, it's possible. The first thing that comes to mind, if somebody comes in with more influence, you've lost your influence. That's one way.
Okay, yeah, if somebody else takes it.
If somebody comes in with a better marketing piece or a better marketing position or a better branding position or a better sales pitch, you're gone. You're history. Yeah, that's very easy to do. I think what you're also asking for folks on the call is you got something that's working for you, can you lose that, is what you're asking, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yes and no. Yes, you can. If somebody comes along with a better mousetrap, better marketing position, absolutely you can lose it. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, and this is why the big internet marketers are so successful, is they're not afraid to test things. What most people do is they get something that works, but they won't test it after that. I always recommend testing your headlines, testing your marketing pieces, seeing what's going to pull more. Research has demonstrated that one marketing piece, one headline, will pull 400% more than a different headline. So it's vital that you tweak and you tweak until you get an acceptable closing ratio, or one that you know is a very high closing ratio for your industry. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. So, in other words, this is something that you don't just get, but you work on continuously and you hone these skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, there's no get quick rich scheme, any of that kind of stuff out there. People buying all that stuff. People have said to me, Jim, when will I become as good as you at this? Well, probably never, because I've been doing it 20 years and that's what I do for a living, so it's my job to be good at it. All that I care is that people become 10% better, at least 10% better than what they are. As you already know, Tammy, you've been through all my material. Well, a good part of it is that I give people a lot of material, and it's all good material, but people will pick and choose what they want, right? People will gravitate to what they want. All that I want people to do is master a couple of foundational things, then pick a couple of language patterns they like. I'll show you folks some language patterns in just a moment. Pick and choose what you like. All that I want people to do, people don't really get how simple this is. All you've got to do is change a couple of small things to make a significant difference in your business. What people think when it comes to change psychology is if they want to change their business, oh my gosh, I've got to do a lot of big things because I've got big problems. Wrong. That's not the way that it works. The way that you create change is that you start doing the little things, and the little things turn into the big things. You know, the old, when I was in the martial arts years ago, and I'm still into certain segments of it, but, you know, you don't want to learn I don't remember the old Shaolin phrase, but you don't want to learn 10,000 moves. You want to learn one move that you practice 10,000 times. That's how you become really good at something. Okay, so let's go on. Let's talk about, I talked about one of the biggest mistakes that people make is surface versus deep structure communication. Well, I said that only 7%, I've got 5% here because it's a little different, but I said that words are 7% of communication is what they've shown. Well, look at the iceberg there. Okay, so the words are 7%. I've got 5% here. I'm not sure why I did that. Oh, no, I know why I did that. Okay. Because research says, I'll show you in just a moment, research says something relative about the brain. But let's talk about words for a second. They say that words are 7% of communication. So look at the iceberg. If words are 7%, words are only the tip of the iceberg. Words are only the top part of the iceberg that you can see, and the bulk of the communication is below the surface of the water. So here's where most people communicate. Right up here where you can see the 5% words left brain, that's where most people communicate, and that's as far as they go with it. When you want to, the way to become persuasive and influential with people is stop listening to the words and go underneath. Go what we call deep structure. Pay attention to how people put their words together, what questions they ask, why they ask those questions, how they phrase their questions, what tone are they using when they ask those questions, what is their body language, how do they sequence the questions, and even things they don't say are all telling you what's coming out of their brain. You've heard sales managers say before, you've got to get into your prospect's mind. You've heard that before, right, Tammy?
Yep,
Yes?
I have many times.
Okay, so sales managers will tell people, and folks, like I said, I've worked all the way from Fortune 500 to Fortune $10, so to speak. As long as they pay my fee, I'm there, and as long as it's an ethical industry. But you'll hear sales managers tell people you got to get into your prospect's mind. Yet, when I ask sales managers how do you do that, they don't know how. The way you get into your prospect's mind is you learn to persuade, you learn to influence. The word that a lot of people use, it's incorrect, but it's subconsciously. I use the word unconsciously. The way to get in your prospect's mind is you discover, are they predominantly auditory, visual, or kinesthetically? Are they internally versus externally referenced? Are they a general thinker versus a specific thinker? Are they a random thinker? Are they a procedural thinker? What are their unconscious beliefs, values, and identity relative to you, your industry, and your product? What is their personal identity relative to you, your service, and your product? See, when you know those things, then you know how to persuade and influence people effectively. Tammy, let me ask you this. If I were going to drive to your office, your house, wherever you are right now, and I called you, and I said, Tammy, I'm lost. How do I get to where you are? What's the first question you're going to ask me?
You mean you haven't bought a GPS yet, Jim?
No, I know, Tammy. I knew she was going to do that. No, I don't have GPS.
No, I would say, well, where are you now?
Exactly. Where are you now? Folks, that's your leverage. I was going to use the word pivotal. That is pivotal. Where are you now? How can you persuade and influence people if you don't know where they are unconsciously? You can't. Yet that's what most people try to do by left brain selling, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now, so Tammy, what if I said, well, I don't see any markers or anything, and I'm looking up at the street sign, and you know, there's no street, there's no crossroads here. I don't know where I am. How can you tell me to get to where you are? You can't, can you?
Nope.
Nope, you cannot get me from where I am to where I want to be because you don't know where I am. Folks, when it comes to persuasion and influence in sales and marketing and advertising, you cannot get people to buy if you do not know where they are. And if you do not know how to persuade, and if you do not know how to influence people unconsciously, you have no idea where to start, which I'll show you in just a moment. And you know, I've taught this information for many years, as I said, and my students have said, you know, Jim, I've been to Miller Hyman, Sandler, Spin Selling, Consultative Selling, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, and every other sales training program under the sun. How come no one's ever taught me what you're teaching me? Well, all the other programs are what I call left brain programs. They're all about the words over here, 5%. Yet what I teach is right brain over here on the right-hand side, 95% of how people decide to buy. Because as you're going to discover in just a moment, when you know what people think, their words, it's very easy to influence what they're going to do. Let me show you something here to demonstrate how the left brain and right side of the brain work simultaneously. You know, I've been talking about left brain, right brain, and we'll dig into it a little bit more. But you might be wondering, okay, well, how does that really play out? In a moment, I'm going to put up a slide here on the screen. What I want you to do is I want you to say the color of the word as fast as you can. Not the word, but I want you to say the color of the word beginning now, top left. So what color is this? What color is this? What color, what color, what color? What color? Color, 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 color. All right. While you guys are laughing, I'm going to take a drink of water. If you're like most people, you probably thought, okay, blue, green, yellow, pink, red, orange, gray, black, purple, tan, white, and brown, right? Well, that's wrong. That's left brain. What happens here is the left-hand side of the brain tries to read the analytical word B-L-U-E, and the right-hand side of the brain tries to read the color R-E-D. Two things going on in the brain at the same time. Left-hand side of the brain trying to work, right-hand side of the brain trying to work. What I want you to get is that when you're sitting across from your prospecting client, what most people are doing is they are gab, 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 gabba, 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 yada, 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 blah, 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 left brain words, whereas the right-hand side of the brain over here is also engaged, yet no one ever addresses the right-hand side of the brain, and as you're going to see here, it's the right-hand side of the brain that makes the decision in the first place. Neuropersuasion is brain persuasion. Left-hand side of the brain is the analytical side of the brain. It's the conscious side of the brain. It's the analytical, rational, see the short-term memory. Left-hand side of the brain is all about content, which is what people think. Content is what? Far left-hand side of the screen. Content is features and benefits. Notice there, 5% of brain function. Right-hand side of the brain is unconscious, non-analytical, completely irrational, seat of long-term memory. Right-hand side of the brain is all about process, which is how people think. Folks, you heard me say just a moment ago, when you know how people think over here, you can then influence what they think. Yet most of you have been caught, you've been trapped over here, features and benefits and analysis, and this is why it's a smart decision for you, and this is why it's a great decision for you, and the numbers work, and the analysis and the rationality and blah, 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 blah. The brain tunes out. What you've got to do is you've got to engage the non-analytical, irrational side of the brain. This is why they say that we buy things on emotion. It's because it's this side of the brain that buys, not this side. It's this, well, a joke that I make, it's the left-hand side of the brain that buys. At the right-hand side of the brain that buys, sorry, it's the left-hand side of the brain that returns it. Right-hand brain wants it, left-hand side of the brain says no, no, no. So it's obvious. To sell more, you've got to start engaging your prospects and clients' unconscious mind. Because research has demonstrated that most of the decisions you make aren't based on conscious reasoning. Dr. Alex Peugeot, Associate Professor of Brain and Cognitive Sciences, University of Rochester. Folks, consider that. Most of the decisions you make aren't based on conscious reasoning. I don't have time to go into it now, but I could further demonstrate this. Everything that you bought, you think that you bought analytically. Let me give you an example here. How many of you have wanted something a little bit out of your price range? You wanted something, let's say you were going to buy, oh gosh, I mean I could say a house because I do a lot of real estate work, but let's say you wanted to buy a car, okay? We've all done that. And you say my price ceiling is $30,000. That's it, no more, $30,000. So that's analytical. And then you get to the dealership and you find exactly something that just makes you salivate for $33,000. It's $3,000 more, they're not coming down on the price. Tammy, what do people do?
They drive home in it. They drive
They try to what?
They drive home in it. Yeah.
They stop rationalizing because now the unconscious side of the brain is taken over. And they stop rationalizing, and now they're driven by the unconscious side of the brain, the part of the brain that makes a decision. Folks, that's how the brain works, and that's the side of the brain you got to start selling to. So we talked a little bit about emotions. Tammy, you're exempt from answering this. You've seen this several times. You know me. But folks, when I do presentations to salespeople, I'll say, what do people buy on? And it starts with an E. What do people buy on? You folks on the call, what do they buy on? It starts with an E. People will say emotion. And I'll say, and you've got it here on the screen, but I'll say, okay, what drives emotion? And I'll also say, you know, you folks know, you folks believe that you've got to move your prospects and clients' emotion to get them to buy. And everyone in the audience will always say yes. And I'll always do it very confidently and arrogantly, like, what are you talking about? I've been in sales 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. I know that people buy on emotion. I'll say, great. And then I'll say, okay, if your paycheck depends on you moving your prospects and clients' emotions, how do you move your prospects and clients' emotions? And this is what I hear.
Cricket chirping.
Yep. Crickets chirping. They don't know. So they were all confident and arrogant, say, yeah, people buy on emotion, but they don't know how to move emotions. Well, imagination moves emotions. And the easier that you can move someone's imagination, which is a right brain function, you then begin moving the emotions. The way that the brain works is this. It goes from imagination to emotion to analytical mind to behavior. The biggest mistake that most people make is they try to get people to sign on a dotted line. They try to influence behavior. Wrong. You influence imagination, that will move emotion. Imagination and emotion are not the same thing. Imagination is literally imagination, thought. Emotions are feelings. For example, no one just starts crying and says, why am I crying? Which is an emotion, whether it's happy or sad. No one says, why am I crying? Unless they're on meds, right? But no one says why. What they had to do is they first had to start imagining something, which then pushed them into the emotion. So for you, one of the biggest buy buttons in the brain is the imagination buy button. You've got to hit that buy button. And when you do, when you take what you're learning here and you start interacting with your clients differently and you start moving their imagination, you're going to find that it's very easy to get them to sign on the dotted line. I'm going to give you one easy way here on this call to move people's imagination. I teach multiple, but the easiest way is this. First off, the law of dominant effect. This is a law of hypnosis. Your imagination dominates your analytical thinking. I do not have time to go into it. I see we've only got 18 minutes left, and I want to give you guys some language patterns, so we've got to keep moving. But your imagination dominates your analytical mind, just like I was talking about with the car in the car dealership. Your analytical mind can say no more than $30,000, but your imagination kicks in, and that $30,000 is out the window. Now you're going for something more expensive because your imagination is dominating the analytical thinking. So to sell to people, you've got to start engaging the imagination. I teach people comprehensive and multiple ways to do it. A very easy way on this call is this. 2 words. Everyone get your pen and pencil ready. Pen, paper, pencil, Crayola, marker, whatever you're using. And I say Crayola because I deal with parents a lot. And I had a dad one time say, he was a CEO, he's like, I've got no pen, but I've got a Crayola. Will that work? So get whatever you got. 2 words to use imagination. Are you ready? When you use these 2 words in your sales presentation, actually, before I give you the 2 words, I want you to just imagine the next time that you're sitting down in front of your prospect or your client, and I want you to just imagine that you're now thinking differently, and you're thinking, okay, I know what they're saying to me, but how? What of everything that Jim's taught me, what of that can I use to get underneath the iceberg, to get at the bottom of it, to start persuading and influencing this person? When you approach your sales from that position, you'll start selling more. Those 2 words to move people are just imagine. When you use the word in your sales presentation, just imagine blank, they shift cortically from left brain to right brain. Just like when I slowed down and I said, folks, before I tell you, I want you to just imagine that you're in your sales presentation. Where did I take you? Boom. It wasn't an analytical laundry list. You were already imagining yourself there. That's one of the ways that you move the brain. When you have people imagine things, imagine safety, imagine security, what you want to have them imagine. Now, I said people do not buy features and benefits, yet what they buy is what they imagine about the features and benefits. So when you get people into their imagination, you want to have them imagining that they already have the comfort of the features and benefits or the security of the features and the benefits. I got to move on, but for now, Tammy, you know I do this day in, day out. Did that make sense?
Absolutely, Jim, and when I remember to do this, it really does make a big difference.
Now, she said something pivotal there, and I'm not going to actually toss Tammy under the bus when she says, when I remember to do this, okay? Folks, what I teach you, I generally work with really high-end selling professionals. I mean people that make $500,000, $750 million a year. Folks, and again, Tammy's been a student of mine for years. She's been a friend. It's not a matter of remembering to do it. It's a matter of actually bringing this into your life, this new way to sell, until it becomes second nature, until it becomes unconsciously, it becomes a habit. So, you know, for example, people look at, you know, no stone tossing, but look at Tiger Woods. You know, Tiger Woods didn't become great. I mean, he had natural talent, but people like Tiger Woods, they practice every day. They don't take months off. They don't take, well, Tiger did for a while, but you guys know what I mean. I mean, Olympic athletes, champions. We've got Michael here on the call. I mean, I've got friends that are pro athletes. They don't just practice one day a week. They practice every day. When I was learning these skills, before we had computers and all that kind of stuff, I would write down language patterns, which I'm going to teach you next, and then we'll wrap up. I would write them down and carry them in my pocket every day, and I would say, today I'm going to use this language pattern. And I would do it over and over and over until it became second nature, just like that. Over the years, I've had friends and I've had people say to me, Jim, how do you do what you do? How do you get people to do what you get them to do? It's very easy. I use the things that I'm teaching you guys. I didn't just learn it, which is what a lot of us do, and then forget it. I use it, I learn it, and I'm continuously learning and sharpening my skill set, which is something that a lot of people do not do. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you 4 language patterns here. Actually, I can't count today. I am in Texas. I did not go to Texas A&M. There should be 4 there, not 1, 2, 4, and 5. So, all right. As a hypnotist,
just to throw them off.
It's a throw. Yeah, that's make sure that actually they're paying attention. Okay. Well, what's interesting, Tammy, is that every single person that started this call is still on this call. So that means I'm doing something right here. Okay. As a hypnotist, we use language patterns, meaning we say things that are literally engineered or constructed in a certain way, like the Tylenol commercial, to plant the suggestion. Many times when I start a live presentation, normally I almost did it today, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, I thought the call was an hour later. I was running behind. I even sent Tammy a frantic email, so I kind of started behind the 8 ball on this call. But what I'll do many times when I start a presentation, I would say, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I could tell you that what you're going to learn today will completely change what you think about selling and how you do it. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you discover it for yourself over the next hour. Notice how covert that is. I want to show you what's hidden here. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I could tell you that what you're going to learn in the next hour will completely change what you think about selling and how you do it. Well, and then I say, but I'm not going to tell you that. Well, notice I just told you what I told you I wasn't going to tell you. Notice how covert that is. Then I say, obviously there, I'm going to let you discover it for yourself. Folks, none of us like to be told things. For example, if I said, I can help you increase your sales by 25%, that's one way to say it. I'm telling you something. What about if I said, you know, as you're going to discover, when you use my material, you're going to increase your sales by at least 25%. Which one is easier to swallow, Tammy, the first one or the second one?
I like the first one.
What?
No,
Tammy, you just blew my prop. Guys, don't listen to Tammy anymore.
I'm only kidding. No,
Okay.
I like the way you phrased it. And it is powerful because people don't realize that you're telling them what you didn't want to tell them.
Exactly. Exactly. And I hope she was just kidding there. Folks, what I'm telling you is this. None of us like, okay, we have become desensitized to marketing messages and the selling messages. And if people tell us things, our first thought is, even if we're not thinking it analytically, is, well, they're trying to sell me. So if I tell you that I can increase your sales by 25%, you're going to say, yeah, whatever, big whoop. But if I say, you know what, as you're going to discover, when you use my material, you're going to increase your sales by 25%. Now guess what? Whose back is the monkey on? It's on your back now. Instead of me telling you, I'm telling you you're going to discover it for yourself. So let me give you a real-life example here, a couple of them, and we'll move on. I could say, we've got some financial advisors on the line, on the call, right, Tammy?
Yeah, we sure do.
Okay, so they could say something like, you know, I could tell you that the XYZ program is actually the safest program you could put your money into. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you discover it for yourself as you do your own research on it. Notice how I didn't tell them something now. I simply suggested and then told them they were going to discover it for themselves. People tend to believe what they think for themselves opposed to what you tell them. Make sense, Tammy?
Absolutely. And that's 100% true.
Next pattern. Let's keep going here. We're running out of time. So next pattern is this. Folks, the fact that you're on this call means that you want to increase your sales. Two things hidden in that sentence. The fact that you're on this call. Who can argue, of the people on this call, who can argue that you're not on this call? Not a single person, can you? So I've said something that is true, and then I've tied to it the meaning that I want to give it. The fact that you're on this call means that you want to increase your sales. The language pattern is the fact that blank means blank. The fact that we're sitting down talking means that you're serious about insurance. The fact that we're sitting down talking means that you're serious about protecting your family. The fact that we're sitting down talking, the fact that you called us, the fact that you're visiting us, the fact that you're on this webinar, whatever that fact is, you stated the fact that you're on this call means that you want to make more money. When you say that exact line, they cannot argue, and you are automatically leading them just like that. All right, a couple of more. If you're the kind of person that blank, then blank. We only buy our identity. That's it. We only buy who we are. So, for example, I like fast cars. If you said to me, Jim, if you're the kind of person that likes fast cars and you're going to want to test drive this new BMW, I'm not going to sit there and analyze, which is left brain, and say, Am I the kind of person that likes fast cars or not? No. It's going to be an automatic unconscious buy-in. When you say, if you're the kind of person that likes fast cars, my brain says yes, yes, yes. Then you tell me what you want me to do, which is test drive the car. If you're the kind of person that wants to easily close more business, then you're going to want to learn more from me. If you're the kind of person that wants to protect your family, then you're going to want to look into this policy. If you're the kind of person or company, if you're the kind of company that looks for XYZ in your vendors, then you're going to be thrilled with what you discover with us. Last one. Folks, shame on you if you do not use number 5. We all have a convincer strategy we have to go through in our own minds. We all have a roadmap we have to go through in our own minds to convince ourselves to buy. Some of us have to see things, some of us have to do things, some of us have to hear things, some of us have to do things in a particular sequence. I'm going to keep it really easy. What I want to know when I'm talking to somebody, I want to know, for example, if I'm talking to a corporate client about bringing me in for $10,000 a day, what I want to know is I want to know what convinced them to hire their last sales trainer. Tammy, why do I want to know that?
Is this one of the ways of getting inside their head?
Yes. I want to know what convinced them to hire their last sales trainer. You know why? Because what they're looking for in their last sales trainer, we always use, whether we realize it or not, we always use the same buying criteria. The only time that it changes is if something in our external life changes. For example, when I say we use the same internal buying criteria, it's all unconscious. I like fast. I love fast cars. I don't have any kids. Now, my next car is going to be fast. My number one priority, I'm looking for a new Mercedes or a new BMW right now. My number one priority is speed. I drive a sports car now. So my criteria
You better
hasn't
watch out
changed.
for the DPS out there, Jim. They're bad.
I haven't gotten a ticket in 20 years. I know how to get around that. So, but my criteria is that I buy speed. So I don't go from one brand to the next and then change. The only way that I would change is, let's say that I had kids, it might go from speed, okay, now I need safety. So my criteria has changed. Yet most of us never change ever our buying criteria. So whatever convinced that sales manager or VP of sales to hire the last person, and it's going to be something. Whatever it is, when I say, John, let me ask you, what convinced you to hire the Sandler Company? I'm going to listen very carefully. I'm going to make some mental notes. Because whatever he tells me that is, I'm going to feed that right back to him, and I'm going to be that. He's going to say, well, they had a really comprehensive training program, or they had great follow-up, or whatever it might be. Guess what I have to offer him to close the sale? I've got to offer him what they offer him, because that was the buying criteria that he used for them. The same buying criteria that he used for them is going to be the buying criteria that they use for me. I'm going to finish up here, and then I'll tell you guys how you can learn more. Okay, so if I'm sitting down, I would say, what convinced you to select your last tax planner, your last CPA, your last real estate agent, your last this, that, or the other, your last car? What convinced you? Or if it was a car, I'd say, what did you like best about your last car? What they like best about their last car is what they're going to be looking for in their new car. Folks, when you're sitting across from a prospecting client, if they're looking to hire you and they're not hiring the last person they had in your industry, you say, John, let me ask you, what convinced you to hire the last real estate agent that you used? Be quiet and listen. Whatever they tell you, you must be that to them. Well, they were on time, or they were professional, or they had a track record. You must demonstrate those same things, because that is their buy button in the brain. Tammy, makes sense?
Wow, yeah, it's really powerful stuff. I mean, you got the wheels in my head turning, even though I haven't had any coffee, and that's pretty amazing.
Well, the more they think about it, the more they're going to realize just how easy this is. Let me tell people where they can learn more very quickly. Everyone stay on the call, because I'm going to help you here all the way to the end. Basically, I want you to stop selling, start leading. The old phrase, ABC, always be closing, wrong, wrong, wrong. That's 1950s selling. Always be leading. When you lead people, it's very easy to get them to close. No one wants to be closed. Use influential language like I just gave you. Start selling to the imagination. Start engaging the imagination. I can't teach you how to do it entirely here on this call, yet I teach you comprehensively in my program. Lead with suggestions. You put nothing down, they pick nothing up. Many people are afraid to lead with suggestions. You must tell people what to think. Think about political campaigns. The only reason you vote for one candidate or another is because they have told you what to think about them. You must start selling to the right-hand side of the brain. You must engage your prospect's imagination. Something no one ever thinks about is you must speak with strategy. Know what your words are to do for you. When people say things to me, I never respond back to the tip of the iceberg, which is what everyone else does. My first strategy is, okay, what are they really telling me? That's what I respond back to. What I ask myself is, what is that iceberg saying down there? Because that's what I'm going to respond back to, because that's how they make their decision. Very quickly here, let's talk about the only decision you have to make at this point. It's a yes or no decision. If it's a no decision, go ahead and get off the call now. But it's, are you serious about increasing your sales? Let's say you make 70 grand a year, you increase your commissions just 10%, that's 7,000 bucks over 20 years, it's an additional $140,000. Folks, Tammy's known me for a long time. I'm very kind. I really am very kind, to my disbenefit sometimes. But I tell the truth. And I'm just going to, I actually, even though I teach sales, marketing, and advertising, I can't stand most sales, marketing, and advertising people. And Tammy knows that because I get tired of their marketing hyperbole.
Yep.
And their platitudes.
He's a
but
typical Texan in that regard. I think you're.
I've got marketing friends that are big names that we don't talk about marketing because I don't like the way they market, because it's all rah rah blah blah, blow the lid off, best in the world, best this, best that. I don't have time for it. Just tell me the real deal. Folks, if you can't take what I give you and what I teach you, and if you can't increase your sales by just 10%, which is easy, do yourself a favor. I mean it from the heart. Get out of sales because you suck at it, and go do something that you're good at. Now, again, I'm a really nice guy, but I'm just telling you kindly, if you can't take what I'm going to share with you, get out of sales. Also, my stuff, my product, my training, it's not for everyone. If you're just someone who wants to buy something, you're on the next best horse, whatever, next best train, I'm not for you. My material is real material for people that are serious about growing their sales. And normally, I don't put this in the webinar, but I put it in here for a reason, because I'm going to offer you guys something. I'm going to offer you guys a 6-month membership, a gold membership to my membership website, which means you're going to interact with me. And I don't want you on my website wasting my time if you're not serious. That's why I put this up here. What we have for you today is the entire Zero Effort Selling audio program. It's 7 hours, but you're going to get a lot more than this. It's 7 hours. I'm going to teach you everything you see here on the screen. I'm not going to go through it all. Basically, I'm going to teach you everything from A to Z, how to lock down your prospects and clients, how to close the sale. I'm going to teach you a couple of things. I'm going to teach you how to significantly increase your closing ratio. I'm going to teach you how to shorten your selling cycle. And I'm going to teach you how to either bring your prospects and clients in and get them to take action, or get them off from your radar so that you can move on and go do business with people who want to go do business with you. Anyone that's been through my program, I'm only one of a handful of people in the entire country who teaches this, will tell you it's because I'm an educator first and a marketer second. I love to teach, I love to train, I love to coach. It's one of the most comprehensive programs you're going to find anywhere, period. So what you're going to get is the entire Zero Effort Selling audio program. For those of you that get registered, it's not an automatic download. My shopping cart's not working for that. I will have to send it to you later today. You get the study guides, you get 17 additional language patterns, plus the language patterns that are already in the audio program. You're going to get something like 30 language patterns. Anywhere I live, I'm doing a live presentation, you can come free. Anywhere I do a presentation, you can come free and re-attend. Here's the big bonus, though, guys. I have a membership website. It cost me $50,000 to create this website. I'm very serious about training, education, and online learning. It's called the Mind Authority Network. I do not want you to go there now. Stay with me. But on the Mind Authority Network, I have 150 videos that I have shot. Everything from how to persuasively create an elevator pitch, how to write letters that get people to respond, how to get your stuff opened, how to be persuasive and influential in sales presentations, how to lead people, the entire gamut of persuasion and influence when it comes to sales, marketing, and advertising. I've got 150 videos there now, plus you'll get the entire Zero Effort Selling audio program on the website. The program alone is $497. I will give it to you on the website, plus give it to you if you become a student here today. You'll get the study guide, the language patterns. When you finish, what I'll do is I'll also run you through 30 days of video coaching, which is on the Mind Authority Network. Meaning that once you've gone through the audio program, let me help you master the material. Each and every day you'll have a daily video which will give you an assignment for the day. Very simple stuff. Day one's video is watch people's eyes today. Now, you might not know what that means now, but what that means is where people look with their eyes will tell you how they're thinking. There are book reviews on the site, interviews. My first interview was with Rudy Rudiger. of the movie Rudy. I've got several interviews there, forums. You can interact with me, guys. Every video is like YouTube. You can star it, you can rate it, you can save it to favorites, and also, if you have a question about the technique in the video, this is where I can help you guys. If you have a question about a technique, ask me, and I will answer right there in the video, in the chat box. I will tell you. You might think, well, Jim, okay, I'm a financial analyst. And the technique you just gave us, I've got the situation with the client. How do I use it? Well, I'm going to tell you right there on the website, word for word, exactly how to use a technique. Let me finish up here. World-class partners. I've got 6 world-class partners contributing content. Drew Canoli, health and wellness. People call him the next Jack LaLanne. If you're not physically well, everything else doesn't matter. It's important that we keep ourselves healthy. Shauna Kabani, international social media expert. Her book is in the top 10 of 3 categories on Amazon right now. Brock Predovich, he's an expert at Google Plus and online branding. He's an expert. He's contributing content. Ron White, 2009-2010 National Memory Champ, is contributing content. Howard Berg, the world's fastest reader, is contributing content. You'll get tips from all of them. 90% of the content is mine, 10% is theirs. Like I said, the site is interactive. And then Friday Live. For those of you that register, actually, I'll give you guys gold. I'm going to give you guys gold participation, which is normally $50 a month, Friday Live, which means every Friday you get a live call with me. You can ask anything about any of the material, and I will help you apply it to your own particular situation. 2 more slides, we're done. I want you to look over these yourself. These are all real estate quotes. The reason I put real estate up here is because I work heavily in real estate, but candidly, and I say this as a joke, I love my real estate friends and I work heavily in the industry, but if real estate agents can take what I teach and blow the lid off their sales, anybody can. Because real estate is a 95-5 industry, meaning 95% of homes are sold by 5% of agents. The bottom line is this: I don't care what you sell, I don't care how long you've been in sales, I can help you increase your sales, as you're going to discover when you dig into the material, by at least 10%. Most people, typical results are this, guys, and this is, I'm making a disclaimer here. You do nothing, your results are going to be squat. You do what I tell you to do, you go through the material, you learn it, you ask me questions. It's not at all unusual for people to increase their sales 20, 30, 40%. It's entirely up to you, but I'm going to be there to help you. Total cost today, the program, the audio program is $497 on my website. Membership is $300, $797 today for you folks on this call. And actually, Tammy, you're going to send this back out again, right? For people who couldn't make it?
Yeah, I'm going to send this back out so we can give them a couple of days.
Let's do 72 hours. The next 72 hours. Today it's 1 p.m. Central Standard Time in Texas on Wednesday. Until Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, $397. Gets you the entire audio program, which I will send you later today, and it gets you a 6-month gold membership to the Mind Authority Network. Also, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If for any reason you're not happy in the next 30 days, and it's not everything that I told you and more, let me know, and I will refund your money same day. Folks, couple last thoughts here. As you guys know, we live in a world where social media, one person starts talking bad about somebody, and it spreads like wildfire. You can scour the internet, you can scour anywhere, and you will only find, unlike a lot of my contemporaries in the training industry, you will only find good stuff about me, because the only thing I have, I'm a small-town Texas farm boy. I grew up learning how to do things right and doing things for the right reasons. So, I'm here to help you. It's not about the money. Your money's not going to make a difference in my life. Heck, I get paid $500 an hour to coach and $10,000 a day. Your $397 means nothing in terms of whether or not it's going to change my life. As you're going to find, though, what you're going to learn will change your life. So what to do next? Go here, tinyurl.com/Fortin Special, FORTIN SPECIAL, and you can actually, you know, get registered. What you'll do is you'll pay you'll invest the $397. Then what will happen? Later today, let me be very clear so everyone hears this. Later today, I don't have time, I've got another webinar after this one. Late this afternoon, I will load digitally all the audio program, and I will send you the entire audio program that you can download to your computer. Plus, I will open up your membership to the Mind Authority Network tonight. You will have full access to all 150 videos, partners, audios, interviews, everything by tonight. So because we're not doing it where it's instant download, you won't get it right away. You will get it later this evening. All right, Tammy.
Yeah, I have. I just want to say that I've gone on the site several times, and it's, of all the things that I've ever, promoted, it has the most content bang for the buck. And it's a really, I think it's becoming a part of this network is, Michael Dotterer got me thinking about, building a social media portfolio, places that you invest your time and your effort and your money and everything. And I think that is a place that I would definitely recommend in that respect. I mean, it's just
guys, that's why we call it the Mind Authority Network. Let me talk over you for a second, Tammy, because we're running long here. Guys, that's why it's called the Mind Authority Network. You can even set up a profile. So when you comment on videos, people can actually click on your comment. They can go to your profile, and they can find you on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. It's a place to network also. That's why we call it the Mind Authority Network. It is an extremely comprehensive, all-in-one educational site. So here's where you go.
Do we have time for questions while you're
yeah, I do.
While they're
I do.
cleaning it? This is Jim. Thanks for the great webinar. This is
Thank
from
you.
Steve. This is from Steve, and he said, "What would you tell somebody who's just who's been enmeshed in the sales mentality?" I guess he means what you were talking about, selling to the left brain. How would you get them to break out of that? I mean, what's the first thing they need to do? Because old habits are hard to break.
Okay, old habits aren't hard to break. That's a belief, first off. By the way, I'm a hypnotist and an NLP master practitioner. There is a peak performance section on the site. I am not a rah-rah motivational speaker. I run from them. I don't go to any events of motivational speakers. My whole approach is cognitive. What's going on in the brain and how does the brain work? First things first is to realize what you've done today is that old sales methods are incomplete, they're ineffective, and they're outdated. What we do at the Mind Authority Network with the material is we start immersing you step by step, little bitty baby steps into the material. Basically, what I want you to do is practice the material until it becomes habit for you. The first place we start is unconscious rapport building. As Tammy knows, she might not know, in the coaching videos, I break it down step by step. So what do I advise? Well, no one's really asked it in that way, though I've heard that a lot. I really don't have a cogent answer. I hear that all the time from people that have been in sales 20 years. What I do is I tell people, just immerse yourself. Just start with the material, start working it, pick and choose what you like, use it. You'll find that you'll get results, and that will change your behavior.
I think that's the old. I think that's the old. Can you really teach an old dog new tricks kind of question?
Yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. It depends on how badly the old dog wants to learn new tricks.
Well, anyway,
Tammy,
I appreciate you. I was going to say, I appreciate you being here, Jim. I know you got to get ready for the next webinar. It's really great material, something I don't mind promoting at all. I think it's a great value. If you already have this, there's one person asking, what if I already have your series? Is there something else I can get? I can do. If I already have purchased
what I strongly recommend you do, and it's not because it's my stuff, and actually I'm embarrassed to promote myself so blatantly sometimes and so gratuitously, but the material is good. And I know that. I've spent a lot of time putting it together and researching. Go join the Mind Authority Network. There are 150 videos there. You've got the foundational content, which is zero effort selling. But with the other videos, which everyone today who becomes a part of what we're talking about today, they'll get the audio program plus 6 months gold membership. The videos on the Mind Authority Network, for example, you won't find in zero effort selling the audio program how to write your elevator pitch persuasively. Well, at the Mind Authority Network, I have a video there how to, here's how to use my material. Let's work it into your elevator pitch now. Let me show you how to grab people's attention and write an elevator pitch that will sing. So I advise that they join the Mind Authority Network. Tammy has a link for that. She can get you that. That's exactly what I advise you do.
Yeah, so I think it's Edna, just give me a call, or email me, and I'll send that link to you.
You there, Tammy?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
anybody can email me if they want the link to that. I want to thank everybody that was here and took time out of their day. I hope you found it interesting. I love Jim's material. It's fascinating how the human mind works. And once you can, like he said, if you can just improve your use of this just a little bit, it'll make a huge difference in whatever you do, whether you have a brick and mortar, whether you have consultative type practice, whatever you do, it'll make a big difference. So thanks, everybody, for being here. Hello?
Let me add one thing. Send them the email with a tiny URL. One last thought. Somebody said to me yesterday, and I'm embarrassed to repeat this, I just finished an 8-week coaching program, And the lady in Maine sent me an email saying, she goes, I've been in business for 30 years, and I have to tell you that you're the absolute best trainer that I've ever worked with. The only reason I say that, guys, it's embarrassing to say that. I don't think I'm a great trainer. I just do what I do. I love what I do. It's that all my material is broken down so easily. Because my biggest pet peeve is to buy something or invest in something and you can't figure out what to do next. And I bought marketing programs online. I'm like, okay, what's my next step? I don't know what to do next. Drives me bananas. That's my own phrase, by the way. Drives me bananas. But everything on the Mind Authority Network and in Zero Effort Selling is broken down so simple that a middle school kid could figure it out and use it. So if you have any concerns about, can I use this? Will it work for me? Will it work right away? You will find takeaways. I don't care if you listen for 10 minutes. You will find takeaways in the videos and the audio program. So go get registered,
Awesome.
and I really look forward to getting to know you guys.
And I did make a recording, so hopefully it'll render correctly, and everybody on the call will receive that. And you can feel free to pass it around to your friends and peers. Not your competitors, but your colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not let I've had people say, I'm not going to tell my competitors about this. I've had people say that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I really appreciate you being here, Jim. Thanks to everyone. We're all in this together. We're really working to overcome our perception of how bad the economy is and move on and move forward and get more than our share of the pie, hopefully. So have a great day, and if you have any questions or anything, just give me a call when I won't be available today, but tomorrow we can talk. And thanks a lot. Thanks again, Mike Dotterer, for being on the call, and I hope you will do a webinar with us soon. And Jim Fortin, you're going to come back, right?
Yep. See you soon.
We'll see you
soon.
soon.
Take care, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.